How did domestic violence impact my life? Well, it's just one of those things you just never think that you're going to be the victim of.
I witnessed it growing up for 8 years. My dad was physically abusive to my mom, and it got worse and worse to the point where he was regularly arrested. It always came back the next day.
I was only 20 years old when I got pregnant and ended up getting married to my abuser. We ended up having 2 children over the course of 8 years. And of course, it didn't start right away. It's a gradual wearing down it was a gradual wearing down for me. It started with, the put downs and the I'm no good and nobody else is ever going to want me, kind of down talking until I felt so poorly about myself that when the violence started, the slamming of the doors and the punching of the walls, and finally the violence against myself, it no longer mattered because I didn't know who I was anymore.
Mine was more verbal. Fell in love with a guy who I thought was very, very in love with him, and I just thought everything would go well. The verbal abuse started towards the middle of the relationship. Basically it was my weight, what I wore, the places that I was and wasn't allowed to go. Very, very controlling.
In her mind, which I used to always wonder when she used to fight on me and the fights would get aggressive. Like I could understand playing play fights and stuff like that, but these fights was different. This person's really put their hands on me and I'm just like, yo, you hit, like, yo, why you hitting me? Like, you know what I'm saying? But of course, like I said, this was something that they felt was normal. And being that I didn't come from that and I wasn't hitting this person was thinking that I didn't love them because I was not put my hands back on.
Probably from ages 6 to 8 were the worst. And the police coming in our house, me screaming, "Don't take my daddy away," but not fully understanding that he had to go, but also kind of displacing some of that anger on my mom because she would yell back and everything would just manifest. So at about age 8, my mom finally left. And about a year and a half later, she got involved with another man who was then psychologically abusive and criticized, how she dressed, what she would say, who she would hang out with.
When you're in a situation that you don't want to be in, you're going to be in it as long as you allow yourself to be in a situation. Because like I said, I knew what was going on and I knew it wasn't right. I knew I didn't like how I felt, but I was still making excuses to be with the person that was treating me a way I didn't want to be treated. And it's so easy to do it.
3 different occasions in a domestic violence shelter with both of my children. It ended on December 3rd of 2006 when my husband at the time had me pinned up against a wall punching me in the face, and he reached around to a butcher block to grab a knife and slit my throat in front of my kids. And I was in a position in my life where I didn't feel like I even wanted to beg for my life anymore. I watched my 4-year-old and my 2-year-old daughter begging my husband not to hurt me anymore. And that was the moment that I knew I had to leave.
Just to let women and men know that even when you feel like nobody will listen or believe you, there's always that one person that's willing to help you out of your situation.
Understanding the psychology behind domestic violence, I think, is part of the healing, not just for the people being victimized, but the people who on the outside look at others and perceive them as weak and it being their fault, like I did with my mom. Now I have a different perspective.
One thing that I learned from this situation is that no matter what relationship you're in, if you are being disrespected, it's time to walk away. It's better to have loved and lost than to stay in a relationship where there is no love.
Stop the violence.
Stop the violence.
Stop the violence.
So stop the violence.
See